Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from Art Alien TV. Now today I've got something really interesting for you to look at on Mars, and it's a place called Oxia Planum. The official title for this is a technicolor mound near Oxia Planum. And basically, what we have here is an island. Now this was probably once surrounded by water. I can't prove that, but that's what it looks like. And you can actually measure it here. That's 500 meters, that middle strip is over 500 meters. So you can actually work it out yourself using the measure. And I've taken a whole bunch of clips of these things that I found here, which looked like a town or a bunch of structures on an island, which may have been surrounded by water at some stage in the past, okay? And when you zoom in, you can see the erosion around the edges. It looks quite smooth, as if it was eroded by water around the edges. And when you zoom in, you're going to find some weird stuff in here, and I've marked them all here for you. So if you follow the links below in the description, you can link to this Gigapan, and if you want to get to the original download page where the images came from, or this image came from, click on the Arizona link here, and that will take you to this page, the official page from NASA. This is a high-rise camera image from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. Really high, nice quality, high-res image, okay? And there's different versions of the image, and if you want to look at it in real detail, you need to download one of the larger ones down here. Now, to view these larger images, you will need a program like HiView or something similar, and you can get HiView. If you want to download it, you can just Google it, just Google HiView image viewer, and it should come up, and it'll probably link to a NASA page, and it's a free download, completely free. Or you can link to it via my website or via my channel. If you click on the little face here, which is my app, my desktop app, this is the desktop version, and go to the research page, and there's a link to it in there. So if you click on that and scroll through these, there is actually a link to the page where you can download it from, okay? And there's loads of other free stuff on my app as well, which you can download. So to get to that, you just click on the little monkey face there, which is on my channel page, Art Alien TV channel page on YouTube. Click on that little face and it will take you to my app. Now this app may not work on Google Chrome, but it should work on other browsers, okay? Google's been mucking everyone around recently since they removed the Flash player recently. A lot of things aren't working very well, so nothing I can do about that, I'm afraid. So let's crack on with it. Now on this page it says here, I'm just going to read part of this. An isolated, elongated mound about a mile wide and 3.7 miles long rises above the smooth surrounding plains. Horizontal layers are exposed at the northern end of the mound, and its surface is characterized by a very unusual quasi-circular pattern with varying colors. You can read the rest of it yourself. So there will be links from the Gigapan to this and everything else, and links below in the description, as usual. When someone from NASA says something like a very unusual quasi-circular pattern, that often means something artificial, because people from NASA never tell you directly that there's something artificial on the surface. They will hint at it and talk around the issue and give you hints. And you always have to read between the lines with NASA, because you never get a straight answer from them. This was written by, the narration is by Trey Gibbs. Actually quite good, really, this explanation. But to an untrained researcher, you would probably overlook that statement and think that was what they actually meant. But this is typical strategic vagueness from NASA, and they do this a lot. A lot of scientists and politicians do this when they know they're trying to say something but they're not really allowed to, okay? So there we are. I'll leave that with you to make your own mind up, but basically when you see what's in here, you may agree. Now, I've marked a whole bunch of things on here, and you can remove these marks by pressing this thing here, okay? So you can remove them. If you want to take your own clips, you can just click on that to remove them out of the way. But the most interesting part was this bit. And we have here some interesting square structures all kind of linked together on this kind of mound. I think this is the mound they're talking about. And there's also a whole bunch of square and rectangular structures nearby, right? I'm going to show you some close-ups of these in a minute. There's also this area here. There's another square thing here. You may not be able to see that very well. Just here, there's a square structure with squares around it, and here. and another one here, rectangular. There's multiple rectangular structures in here, but a lot of it's buried in sand, and sand has drifted over a lot of this area. There's another structure here. This looks almost like a Roman villa next to another structure and another one here. They're all square and rectangular, but they're ruined and they're partially drifted in sand. Okay, you can see this one here. It's a sort of quasi sort of square shape. There's rectangles around it, and there's a rectangular structure ruined in the middle of it here. It's got a wall round the outside here. It's right round. And there's other structures next to it here. Okay. Now they don't look very clear. So what you need to do really, like I've done, is take some clips, screenshots, and just brighten it up and play with the contrast, darken it, lighten it a bit, and you will see this stuff really clearly. But there's a very clear rectangular structure here with other rectangular and square structures either inside it or next to it, like we have here. Okay, there's a whole bunch of them there. There's another one there. And in fact, the more you start looking in this area, you think, well, hang on a minute, they're all over the place. But some of them are quite vague. Like here, we got something buried here. Because they're covered in sand, a lot of them you can't see. There's also what looks like some roads here, up here somewhere, which I've marked just here. This looks like a road system, perhaps. Now, this may be a riverbed, but it may not. This may, if there are structures in the area, these may actually be roads. And we got this one coming along here, and it joins up here. A lot of it's buried, and it comes right round, and it comes down here, and then it kind of comes all the way down here, and then we got this sort of plateau area here, which is quite flat, and then we got this rather strange crater, which looks kind of square almost there, very strange. Probably natural, but may not be. Some of this stuff may have been quarried or altered. And we've got multiple what look like structures in the ground, and a lot of them are kind of rectangular, like this here. Not very clear. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you some of the clips I've got, and I'm going to flick through some of them for you as well. What I've done is a bunch of clips, and I've brightened these up, and I've added contrast and brightness. Okay. Here's the one with the structures in between. We got basically a rectangular structure or a square structure here, but it kind of links to this one over here, right? And then we zoom in, we've got a structure in the middle of it there. And you can see walls, inner walls here, rooms. This is about, let's see how big this is actually. So here it is on the Gigapan, and you can actually measure it using that. The main structure is about 20 meters, okay, but it looks like multiple structures here that are linked together. That's the first one I spotted there, and there's that other one there, and there's a bunch over here as well, it seems, with walls and stuff in between, and parts linked together. But a lot of it's buried in between, so it's not immediately obvious, and this image was quite dark. I did brighten the image up a bit before I uploaded it onto this Gigapan site. But you need to brighten it more really, and tilt your screen a bit as well, which might help. But basically we've got here multiple structures on the ground. I mean, this looks like a Roman villa almost. It's absolutely insane. This is really cool, this one. You can actually see a wall here linking that to this other square or rectangular structure here. And then we have over here some more possible ruins here. Okay, but they're not very clear, not as clear as those. But this one was cool because you can actually see an outer wall here going round, and it's kind of dilapidated and broken down a bit. And then we've got multiple inner walls inside. We've got an inner structure here, like I showed you, and loads of stuff going on there, but it's not in amazing detail. These aren't that big, these structures. If they were much bigger, we'd be able to see a bit more. So that one was cool. I'll put some more clips of that in a minute as well at the end of the video. All these will be in at the end, and I've got lots of other clips showing these things. Now there's this as well, that's marked on the map. Now this one, it wasn't quite as clear, but we have a similar deal here, where we have a rectangular or square structure here with smaller rectangles there, right? Got some stuff going on here. And when you zoom in, we got something rather strange there, like a structure. You can see a wall there, right? So you can see all this in the GigaPan, and as I've said before, what you need to have on your browser is something like this, which is called Hover Zoom Magnifier. You can get this for any browser, and you can really look at these up close. You can see that inner structure on that one, and you can see this one here quite well, actually. You can see that rectangular structure. It's a bit dark, but it's there, and these are all over the place. And the one I was just showing you just then is this one. You can see it here. You can see the rectangular structures here and here and here, but you need to really take clips of this and play with the contrast. As usual, when you're doing digital archaeology, contrast is your biggest friend, because that will bring out and push the shapes out that are partially buried or semi-buried in sand, because the light, the sun will reflect off solid objects below the sand, like bricks and stone, and if you have a stone structure, it will show through. So you can see more if you brighten up the image or play with the contrast. It will push those details through. And this was the really cool one, the one that really stood out, and this is what got my attention when I first looked at the image, because we got a mound here with what looks like buildings all over it here, and this is quite large, but we've also got these up here. We've got a perfectly square structure here, more perfect than I could draw it freehand, but there you can see that quite clearly, just there, perfect, almost perfect right angle there. So we've got 3 in a row there, 1, 2, 3, right, just there. And then we have this structure here, which is a large rectangular structure. Let's try and do that again. And we've got structures inside that as well, right? We've got structures inside it like this, walls and stuff. A lot of this is buried, so don't expect to see perfect buildings. You're not going to see perfect buildings on most of Mars, because it's been hit by so many things in the past, not only probably nukes, but also other things like meteors and stuff, and lots of volcanism on the surface as well, probably. So there's been lots of stuff going on the surface over the last few million years that's ruined a lot of this stuff, and also everything's buried in sand. But this was really cool. Now, this is really unusual because we've got multiple rectangles here in a pattern, as if there was sort of a large structure here with multiple rooms on it, and some of it seems to have subsided down here. But we've got all these rectangles. Now, what this looks like to me is that a lot of these dwellings or houses were literally cut straight out of the bedrock and literally carved out of the stone that's in situ. Okay, like you have in places like Central and South America and all over the world, we have structures that are dug into the actual stone or rock. You have them in Turkey, you have them in Central America, you have them in South America. We have plateaus and buildings that are cut right into the mountainside sometimes, and that's what this looks like to me. There's multiple structures here. I can even see some vague ones up here, but they're a bit pasty and vague, but there's loads of them, right? Now, some of these structures may be natural, but what it looks like to me is if you have mountainous structures that are already naturally craggy and cracked and in fissures where you have almost natural rectangles, then it'd be much easier to build onto it, of course. So that was cool. And if you flip the images to negative, like I'm going to do now, adjust color balance, then negative image, go to negative, then you can really see that square up there next to another one, and you can see in between a lot better. Let's go a bit darker, add a load of darkness and contrast to that, and you can really see those come out, okay? And you can see that square there, and there's 3 in a row there, there's another one here, and there's multiple rectangles and squares here on this mountainous kind of mound. Really cool. So I'll put clips of all these coming up in a minute anyway. And there's a bunch of others I've found. Some of them are just kind of rectangular structures on their own. But when you start looking, you will start to see that they're all over the place. And what I'll do, I'll quickly show you the folder I've got up here. And I'll just flick through these for you. Okay, and this is a raw clip. Now, from this distance, you wouldn't notice that straight away until you brighten it up. And then when you brighten up, you think, well, hang on a minute. There's a square and another square, and there's multiple rectangles in here. Really cool. Closer image. Closer but raw. This is a raw clip. Brightened up. And negative. Let's go back to the brightened up one. So you could really see those there. There's multiple structures here. They're buried, they're ruined, they're probably millions of years old. But this is an island, so this is like an island town. Okay? And then we've got this, what looks like a road here. This here, with other structures or roads joining it. Now, some of these may be riverbeds or streams or something like that. But if we have structures in the area and buildings, then these may actually be roads, okay? So brighten it right up, and then negative. But if you brighten it right up, you can actually see that going along here. And this is basically on the sort of flat plateau area of the island. And I don't really see how rivers could have formed on such a small island, because there's not enough of it really for the river to form. There may have been streams here, of course, but this looks like a road to me, or perhaps an irrigation channel. That's another possibility. And you can see it in the negative there quite clearly, coming along there. And they're all over this area. There we have that one. It's a bit vague unless you zoom in. You can see that rectangle there and that one there. In the negative, you can see it even clearer. You can see this one very clearly. Rectangle there. A square with multiple rectangles on the side of it. That is the outline of a building. These are walls. That's not a natural structure, in my opinion. So not only has it got a main rectangular or square part, but it's got rectangular parts on the side of it. So it's pretty hard to deny that that is actually a set of structures, in my opinion. Pretty hard to deny. So we got lots of these things, and I've taken clips of some of it upside down. This is that mound again with the multiple structures on it from the other angle, and it looks quite different. You've got these other square and rectangular structures here. But it kind of looks different from that angle. I thought that was interesting. If you take the clip up the other way. So there we are. And this one was pretty clear. You can see those there. And they're joined up here. You can just about make out some joining walls. And what looks like a wall here. And some structures over here as well. And in fact, when you look at this whole area, you're going to find them everywhere. I'm only really showing you the clearer, larger structures. But I'm sure there are lots more that I haven't even marked on the page here. Let's quickly go back to the Gigapan. And there's that thing again. So all you have to do is look. And there are structures all over Mars in some areas. You've got to look for squares and rectangles and structures like I've shown you. You may need to brighten the images up. You may need to add contrast. But basically, a lot of this stuff is buried, but a lot of it's only half buried. And luckily, we can still see it. There was some up the top here as well. There was a rectangle building up here somewhere, which I only just spotted. It's not very clear. It's quite dark just there. There's another one there. This there. And I think a lot of these are structures, but it's very dark in this area here. So that was about it, really. You can check this out yourself. You can follow the links in the description, as usual. And there will be clips coming up in about a minute showing you these things again. And you can study them a bit more carefully, because I don't want to take too long with this video. I'm just glossing over this stuff briefly, really. But this was cool because you have structures inside the main structures here with walls on the outside and internal walls on the inside, right? So this was a town, and we're only seeing remnants of it. And I'm sure this whole island, in fact, at some stage was probably covered in little buildings and outbuildings and stuff like that. And there seems to have been people living on this island, okay? So this is Oxyaplanum. This is a new one for me, not really studied this area before. Really interesting. I'll certainly be looking at more images from this part of Mars, okay? So like I said before, if you want to link to stuff, you can link to it from here, from the Arizona link. That will take you to the main page. And do try out my free app. It doesn't work on Google Chrome very well, I don't think. But if you use any other browser, it will work. And you can link to that from the little monkey face on my channel page here on YouTube. Okay, so thanks for watching, everybody. Clips coming up now.